this again. Right. Yes. That's for later. Well, hello, it's Tuesday. Again, if this is Tuesday, it must be Gary. Not at 3 p.m. today. I was begged off my normal time slot by Caroline, who had a very important Zoom call that just came in over the transom, under the wire. I don't know how to describe it, but I think it went really well, but it's kicked up a certain anxiety. Anyway, I did my part, and so I'm here playing for you today at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, which would be, let's see, I guess 9:30 in the UK and 10:30 on the continent, maybe 11:30 as we get over towards far Central Europe, otherwise known as Eastern Europe. I have to check. Anyway, the time is out of joint, but I'm here to play for you, and I think you know this particular loop by now. I've certainly burned it in enough brains repeatedly, but everybody seems to like it. And I've cut a studio version of it. This ain't it, but I'll get to that anyways. Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a wheel. It's too bad I couldn't get Caroline in here to wail along with this. You should hear her beautiful vocal parts on this. There's something else. Right, Caroline? Anyway, they're very lovely. This is one reason why we're still together over here, because I love to hear her sing. It's a rare treat when she does warble exuberantly, and I've been trying to get her on an album for years and years, but she always balks at the 11th hour. But I think the world needs to hear her voice. And actually, I have to say now, my friend Jason Candler, he's doing so much better, thanks to everybody who's contributed to date. I know there's some holding out there, but you don't know him. But to know him is to love him, as the song goes. He was a long-standing member of Gods and Monsters, and will be so again, by golly, if I have anything to do with it. I have a special announcement I'm holding off on until I have a specific question answered about a gig coming up, which would be a wonderful thing, but maybe it will have to wait until Thursday. Hopefully I'll know by Thursday about this, but in any case, he's starting to swallow actual food, which for someone who's had 2 strokes, this is a big deal. He had to relearn the process. It's been a long time coming, but he's now starting to enjoy eating again, and that's a wonderful improvement. There are marked signs of improvement in many areas regarding his overall well-being. So this is a terrific news, courtesy of his wife Lily this morning. And I have just the thing I'm going to give him. And here, I'm going to tout it on you. I'm not selling it or anything myself, but this is dulce de leche. This is my favorite dessert, most likely. It's the Havana brand, and It's all the way from Buenos Aires, and it can be obtained through Amazon in New York City anyway for a mere 15, 16 bucks. And I recommend it. It'll go fast though, so you might get a couple. But if you love sweet things, as I do, I kind of have a sweet tooth. And what's left of them, anyway, probably because of all that sugar. This is the tickety-boo, as they say. And I intend to give this to Jason. I kind of mentioned it. I was waiting until we regained the swallow function. I'm not sure if it might not be too thick for him. But anyway, it's the thought that counts. And when he gets out, he will, I'm sure, enjoy this. It's really good. Vanilla ice cream, cookies, all sorts of extra sweet things as a topping. But it can be enjoyed just digging in with an old spoon, like Skippy peanut butter can be enjoyed. It's on that same plane of wonderfulness. And yeah, here it is again. These were Don's favorite colors, actually. This kind of yellow and Don Van Vliet. Dolce de Leche, the Havana brand. There's a whole bunch of brands. They're mainly sold in bodegas in the East Village in New York, I've found, usually in polythene tubs, but I like it out of the bottle myself. I mean, though God knows we consume enough plastic, bottled water. I mean, they rate Fiji water as like supposedly the best or the best tasting or the purest. It always comes out, but it's still obtainable only in screw-on plastic containers, go figure. I don't know if the molecules from the plastic impact on the aqua, but it's something for a scientist to figure out, I suppose. So, all right, I've still got some minutes. What else can I tell you about? I don't know, the sun is shining again. Right at this moment, it's filtering through the window. It's a beautiful thing to see. We've had a succession of gloomy days here in New York with a little bit of sunlight, and the next two are promised to be beautiful indeed. I think the temp is getting up even into the 70s again. And well, anyway, I'm going to over to Terry Durgash's studio shortly after I do this, so I'm not going to have a lot of time for the hellos and thank yous in Messenger, if anybody's watching this, after the live stream today. But maybe I'll get to them later because I want to mix this thing. I cut this track, which is, by the way, called Unforgiven. Yes, there's a film with the same title, but you can't copyright a title. I mean, you too have a song called Grace that has nothing to do with Jeff Buckley's Grace, did you know? And as probably 50 other writers registered with BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC and that. So Grace is popular. Unforgiving qualities are, I like the forgive and forget aspect of getting older, but sometimes it's hard. It's hard with certain people, individuals. This isn't aimed at anybody specifically, though. It was just the mood, because the mood of the song is a mix of triumph and dolorous music, in my humble opinion. I wrote it, so that's how it strikes me. It might strike you differently, of course. But there's a certain pronounced sadness about the changes. And the image I got was really kind of the American Southwest and, sort of the border between No Country for Old Men and Beefheart Land, to quote Frank Zappa. It's sort of in there, although, it really has nothing to do with Captain Beefheart per se, musically. If anybody was unforgiven, I would say it was Don, just by the fact that they won't let him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've plowed that furrow before here. He probably would have disdained it, to tell you the truth. I did go to Seymour Stein, who's one of the chief honchos involved in it with Jan Venner, and made an appeal some years ago up in Canada at Pop Montreal, where I was playing, and he just looked at me and he said, "Well, Gary, Neil Sedaka's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How do you think I feel about that? So, okay, well, fair is fair. I know that they used to bring his name up frequently in the early versions of this august event, and it was always on somebody's short list, and then it never did go through. And I wondered if it had something to do. They figured that maybe there weren't enough people to purchase mega expensive seats at the various tables, which I think is, it's sort of a parallel function of the event. But, I don't know. Ours is not the reason why. I do know that Fela Kuti is up this year, who definitely deserves to be in there. I mean, as he was, in a way, at least his music was called Afrobeat, and he's the inventor of it, but it partook of large portions of the rock ethos, and certainly in lifestyle. Fela Kuti, with his 27 wives and outrageous onstage pot smoking and whatnot, definitely deserves to be in there on behavior alone, although, some people now in retrospective might disagree on that aspect of him, but I thought he was one of the greatest artists of all time. I love his music. And I did go and see him play when they released him after about a year and a half in lockup in Nigeria, in Lagos, where he lived. He made a triumphant appearance with his newest ensemble, Egypt 80, at the Felt Forum in Madison Square Garden. And it was quite a spectacular concert, and I will never forget it. I saw some other amazing shows there. Do we still have time? Oh yeah, I remember going to the Felt Forum with two buddies of mine when I was in college. John Tiven, who's a very great guy, songwriter, guitarist, producer of many notable blues artists, primarily for many a year, and another friend of mine, Christopher Chestnut, who was a New Haven townie who had a style aplenty and it seems unlimited resources because he was driving a Cadillac, and we had a group together. I'm not sure what he was doing for a living, but yeah, he had all sorts of guitars, two 200-watt Marshall amplifier stacks that used to belong to Tony Williams' lifetime. That I guess, it's just incredible to contemplate. I think they were something that maybe Jack Bruce played through when he was in there, but they were guitar amps, and they made an almighty racket, that's for sure. Well, anyway, we went to the Felt Forum to see Deep Purple on their first emergence in their second lineup, with Ian Gillan doing his Arthur Brown shtick with the high falsetto screams, and Richie Blackmore, who was we were very much a fan of, Ian Pace, John Lord, and who's that other guy? Well, I don't mean to, Roger Powell, and they were great. And Fireball was out. I think they ended with that. They opened with Speed King, if I'm not mistaken. Just a fantastic night of music, because from there we took via the shuttle from Grand Central on another subway line down to the Academy of Music, which is on 14th Street, home of all sorts of wonderment, sonic mayhem over the years, to see the late show of Black Sabbath. About 6 months after their second album had come out and they'd really blown up. And it was like attending a seance of the living dead. There was a funereal, downer atmosphere that permeated the august Academy of Music, and basically we sat among comatose people. I'm not sure, what would have roused them, but they seemed to be digging it, but they weren't moving a muscle, that I can tell you. And that's unusual for New York audiences. So Ozzy eventually got fed up with this at the end of the show, despite all of their histrionics and showboating, grandstanding. I mean, Geezer Butler raising his arm and twirling it. Remember all those moves. Ozzy got fed up and he reached behind him and he pulled Bill Ward's tom-tom up, raised it in the air, and hurled it off the stage directly at people in the front row right before the orchestra pit. I guess it missed them and it dashed into the orchestra pit. But he muttered, "Fuck this!" You know, I mean, it was like after a lot of like trying to whip the crowd into enthusiasm type of exhortation, like, "Come on, everybody, clap your hands, come on." You know, it was a bit like Mick at the end of Altamont, you know. But it didn't do the trick, so he resorted to physical violence directed in the general vicinity of the audience. It missed. Nobody batted an eyelid. And then he said, "Fuck this," and they stalked off. And thus endeth the concert. Okay, and thus endeth this concert here. I've padded it out with some good palaver. It's 5 o'clock. I gotta get to Terry's studio. I'm doing a podcast too. I'm double booked. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It's such a late hour for us. And we love you guys. And I will see you again on Thursday. And, take care of yourselves. Bye now. Love you.